I dug around in here and out my wood pile and upstairs and all over the place looking for those frames that I'd made last year for stretching that fabric on, and I couldn't find them. I was pretty sure that I saved those bigger pieces. I know the small ones were kind of crappy and it just made out of an old piece of OSB plywood, and I burned up the small pieces, broke them up and burned them up in the stove, but I thought sure that I saved the bigger ones, but I can't find them for love nor money. If I have a fault, it's saving junk that I don't have a use for way longer than I need it, and then of course you usually wind up getting rid of it just before I need it. Anyway, I couldn't find those. I looked all over for them, so I went upstairs and I found a couple of little pieces of plywood. I'm going to go ahead and make some frames out of those. They don't have to be anything too special or anything. It's just something to glue the fabric up to shrink it down and to size it down with some poly brush. I've dug into my box of scraps and I've laid out a bunch of scraps here on top of the wing. That's more than enough to do what I need to do. Well, I just got them out so I could figure out what size of frames to make there that I need. Like I said, they don't have to be too big. The bigger they are, the more pieces you can get out of one, but this is the scraps that I've got here right now to work with. Some of these are scraps that were cut off of the edges lengthways as we laid the fabric out on the wing. I got this piece right here close to us, at what came out of that fuel tank bay when I opened that up. Some of those pieces are already partially shrank, and they were the ones that were on the end there that I formed around the wingtip to make the wingtip bow. So anyway, that gives me plenty of fabric. Now all I need to do is figure out what size forms that I need there to glue those onto, get those cut out, and then I'll get some of that fabric glued onto it and start getting it dried out, ready to cut out and make the doilies and grommets and gussets and whatever else the hell you call them that I need. It snowed about 3 inches or so a couple of days ago, and then the last couple of days it's warmed up, rained all the snow off. In fact, yesterday it was mostly raining all day long, and the day before yesterday, so most of the snow is gone. Overnight we had a blizzard here. We had about 3 inches of snow overnight. The ground was all white. It was really nasty this morning. But it's warmed up today and it's almost cleared off, but I don't know what the temperature is, but all that snow is all melting. It's almost all gone. It is gone off the driveway and the road and stuff. The sun is actually out a little bit now. Well, I come to a momentary stop in what I could do. I was putting the finishing tapes on the wing there, and I got them all on the ribs on the upper half of the wing, on the upper side of the wing, and I was getting ready to put on the finishing tapes on the wing spars, and I ran out of finishing tape. I didn't have enough to do that. I probably have enough to do the ribs on the bottom of the wing, but I got finishing tape on order and it should be here in a day or two, so I figured before I went ahead and turned that wing over and started working on the bottom of the wing, I might as well make doilies and gussets and stuff like that I need. I'm going to need those on the bottom of the wing. I need one on the top of the wing for the aileron pulley, aileron cable penetration there. And then I'm going to need a bunch of them on the bottom for all the handhold covers and aileron penetration and stuff like that. I looked for the frames that I made last year to make these, stretch this fabric out on. Basically what I want to do is stretch the fabric out and heat shrink it and then put poly tack or poly brush on it, so that the fabric is shrunk and it makes it easier to cut out, and you make nice clean cuts and stuff to cut it out. And I had frames that I had cut last year for that. Well, I couldn't find those frames, so I looked for them yesterday for quite a while. I don't know what I did with them, probably burned them up in the stove, I don't know. Anyway, I couldn't find them, so I went ahead and found some plywood. This is some stuff we got for some projects for my wife that she makes, little cutouts and stuff for painting in her painting classes in her club that she belongs to. So I cut out some frames here. And it just takes some polytack and put on these frames around the perimeter of them here. This is nothing special, it's just to hold that fabric down so that I can heat shrink it. I'll put the polytack on there, and then I've got these pieces, these are all cut-offs and stuff from the fabric work. Some of them are partially shrunk already, some of them are not, but this is all cut-offs from the wing. So I'll glue those down here onto these frames. Just like this. And I'll probably have to do some more of them as time goes by here. I mean, that gives me enough for some of the doilies. I haven't counted all of them that I need yet. I need quite a few for the inspection covers on the lower wing. I don't remember what I need to go count them and look at the plans, and I can look at the old fabric and count them anyway, but I need those. I need one cover for the top. I'm going to need some other doublers for some other places maybe. So anyway, like I said, I'll make these up. I'm doing this outside here right now. The weather's pretty nice. It's cool, so this stuff won't set up too quickly, but let me just get this. Just get this stuff glued down and let the glue dry on it, and then we'll get the iron and iron it out to get it shrunk down and tight. We need a framework on this to hold the fabric while you iron it to get it to shrink. Otherwise it doesn't work very good, and the fabric will shrink, but it just all balls up. You can see a lot of this stuff is pretty wrinkled already from heat shrinking it when I was pulling that fabric, doing the wingtip bows, the wingtip. Alright, this is the round grommets that go in on the wing for the inspection covers, to look in the wing and to reach into different places and inspect it and stuff. So I need doilies to go over the top of this. This gets glued down to the wing in several spots. I need doilies to go over the top of that to cover it up. This is the grommet that goes over the wing spar attach points, where the wing struts attach into the spars, and I need a doily to go over the top of that. This is a grommet that goes around where the aileron pulley comes out the top of the wing. And that goes on, that's the only one that goes on the top of the wing. I need a doily to go over the top of that. And then this is inspection cover, a bigger inspection cover. It goes on the wing out where the pulley is, on where the wing strut attaches, and where the pulley, to get access into the pulley and stuff, where the wing strut attaches there on the lower aileron pulley. And they also used one of these on the other wing in where the flap bell crank is and stuff, where the flap attaches, to make it easier to get in there to attach that, because ordinarily it just has these on there, two of these on there, and these are a pain in the butt to get your hand in to get any work done, like attaching that cable and stuff for the flap bell crank. This is bad enough, but this is really tough to get in and out of. So these are just some of the grommets that I need. I also need some of these little round, call them dollar patches, but these little round patches here, they're about a little bigger than a silver dollar. You use 2 each on each one of the brackets that attach the wingtip bow to the spars. You also use them on any holes or punctures or any sore spots you might find on the fabric when you're doing it. Of course, you have the seaplane grommets that fit on the wing for draining the moisture out of the wing, and each one of those gets one of these over the top of it. Univair or Polyfiber or somebody sells these, and I bought a whole bunch of them last year thinking that it would be a heck of a lot easier using these pre-made ones because they were relatively inexpensive for a bunch of them. So I bought these, and I just didn't like them at all. They are not Dacron fabric or the fabric here. They're not the same fabric. They're like somebody's old pajamas or flannel or something like that. They don't stretch or shrink. They don't heat shrink. They're hard to cut when you cut a hole into them. Anyway, I just had a heck of a time with them when I used them last year on that other wing. Before, when I did the fuselage on the airplane and did the tail surfaces and stuff like that, where I put a lot of grommets on those, I just made my own, and I think that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, it's going to take a few minutes for that glue to dry up enough. I've tried that before, got in a hurry and done that before and tried to shrink that fabric too soon on there. Just let it give a few minutes to cure, and then tried to shrink it, and it just pulls loose and makes a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this stuff for a while. Maybe I'll go take my dog and go out for a little drive in the country. I haven't been out to a lot of places to see anything for a long time, so I think maybe I'll go ahead and go do that. Yeah, winter's back. That sunshine didn't last very long. My little ride wasn't quite as what I was thinking I was going to do. I was thinking I was going to go out the road and check things out a little bit, see the sights and stuff, but I changed my mind. I put my wife on a plane yesterday to go down south so she can get a chance to see her little brother before he passes away. He'd had a bad time here for a few days. He had a blood clot in his lung, and he wound up back in the hospital again. But we don't know how long he's going to last anyway. He's pretty rough shape with the cancer. So I wanted to make sure she got a chance to visit with him, see him while he's still conscious, while he's still awake and stuff. So anyway, we put her on a plane yesterday to send her down there to see her brother. And so I decided to go to town and get some lunch meat and stuff. She's not here to fix my lunch and stuff, so I decided to go to town and get some stuff for myself. Went in and checked the mail. Well, my little break that I was figuring I was going to have is not going to last near as long as I thought it was going to. I got the mail, and she had some stuff for my wife, of course, but I got this box from Stoddard's. I had called them yesterday to order this, and by gosh, there it is in the mail today. So I get back to work putting tape, or finishing taping that wing. Well, they're pretty Johnny on the spot. They're a pretty good place to do business with. I've done business with them off and on for 40 years, I guess. I've been broke down out in the bush in western Alaska before. I called them up, ordered a part to have them gold streak it to me, and they get it to me the next day and get back in the air. And, you know, I was in the middle of a busy season. They're pretty good. You usually find a better deal. I find something cheaper someplace else, but sometimes cheaper is not what you need. Sometimes you need things right away. So they're always good about that, and they almost always have pretty much everything you need in stock. They're a good place to do business with. Like I said, I ordered that finishing tape yesterday morning, and here it is today in the mail. We'll run into town, give plenty of time for that polytack to set up, which should be ready to work now. I went and got the scissors and trimmed these up. I get the iron out now and shrink those up, and then we'll put some poly brush in them and let that dry. While that's drying, I guess I'll go in and work on something else now. I can put that leading edge tape on. Well, this is one of the pieces that was already partially shrunk. You got wrinkles in it and stuff, but we'll get it shrunk down some more. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Actually, I don't need to do anything on this outer edge. That's going to be scrapped. We'll just rip that off of there. Alright, that one's good. Oh, a little bit of polybrush on here. Don't take much, just enough to kind of get into the weave a little bit and make it so it makes it easier to make the cuts with this when you go ahead and make these doilies out. And then that stiffens up the fabric. Can make it harder to shape the doilies, but when you fill that back in with polybrush again, then that softens right back up again and makes it so you can work it. There's one. You just let that set up. I do have plans for the wing on the Cub and where everything lays out on it, where all of the inspection covers and stuff lay out on it. And I can get that out and measure all this out. But I did that before on the other wing, and they don't quite come out exactly the same. So by taking this old cover and laying it out on top of the wing and the new cover, then I can lay things out. And the primary purpose for that was so I could figure out where the vortex generators go on here. There's a certain pattern that these vortex generators go on here, and by having this fabric laid out here on the wing, and if I cut slots or holes in here where these vortex generators are, when I lay this fabric out on the wing, when it's finished, I'll know exactly how to lay those vortex generators back out again, get them in the right spot. But this also helps with this, laying out where these inspection covers and stuff go. So there's only one spot here on this top. There's a whole bunch on the bottom. And I know just about how they are, but having the pattern on there will make it a lot easier to get them. The ones that really make the most difference are where the penetrations are for these cables where they come through. There's penetrations on the bottom for this cable that comes through from the top that goes this way and down through the bottom of the wing, and then goes out and down the wing struts into the fuselage. And then there's the one cable that comes through the wing along the front spar and then comes out the bottom of the fabric down here, bottom aileron control. And I don't want to screw around with those, making a whole bunch of holes that don't match up. Well, like I said, this is the only penetration we have here on the front, on the top of the wing is right here. and there's a little bit of leeway on this. See, there's a dome that goes over the top of this pulley, and if it's too far back, then the dome will hit the pulley, and if it's not far enough back, the cable won't come out in the right spot, and again it'll hit the pulley. So anyway, that's why I did that. That's one of the reasons I saved that wing cover, that cover off the wing. Here's the grommet for that, and this is the mark that I made. I cut out all the fabric in there so I could make a mark around that grommet, and that's where it goes, just like that. And that gets glued on there now with polytack, but before I glue that on there, I got to use this on one of those pieces of fabric out there that I just put on the framework to make a grommet to go over the top, or a doily to go over the top of that. Alright, here's the grommet that goes in on there, and here's some of the fabric that I just set up. I'm not sure whether it's ready yet to be cut, but I wanted to go ahead and get this grommet set up on here so I could use it. I tried it once, and that didn't quite work out. They say you want at least an inch overhang. That's kind of what I want to do, is maybe get at least an inch over on all sides of this grommet with a doily. So I've got a compass, and I've got it set up with a pencil just like the one I've been using. You gotta watch this sharp point that you don't poke a hole in the fabric. But I've got this set up for about an inch and a little less than an inch and a quarter, right around an inch and a quarter, which will give me a good inch wide. So I can set this up here and here like this, and take that compass and take the pointy part of it and rub it right up against there, and kind of make sure and keep that out about 90 degrees from all my spots as I go around there. I lay this thing down a little bit, then the point doesn't stick into the fabric quite so much. There. Now I take pinking shears and just cut that thing out, and I like these rotary pinking shears the best for this. There we go. Now I have a doily to cover this up with. Now I can go glue this on there. It's got to sit on there for a while before it's ready to put the doily on there. That doily is a little bit green yet. That poly brush just hasn't quite set up yet, but that still turned out pretty nice, I think. So anyway, I'll go ahead and glue this grommet onto that wing and then let it sit up, and then we'll put that doily on there, and then I can put the finishing tape on that front spar, and then after we get this grommet all set up on there and the doily on there, then I can put the finishing tape on the rear spar, because that'll go over the top of that grommet. So now I've got a piece left over there, and I don't think that's big enough to get any of these pieces out of, because like I said, I want at least an inch over all sides. That one might almost be enough like that. Let's see what we got here. No, not quite. Not quite. We can make 2-inch pieces out of there, the dollar pieces. So that's not a waste. That's going to get plenty of use out of that yet. Plus I can go make up another one now.